What if I told you that the life you dream of doesn't require massive change? What if becoming healthier, wealthier, more productive, and more successful starts with something so small that most people completely ignore it? Every day, we make hundreds of tiny decisions without even thinking about them. Over time, those small choices quietly shape our future. They determine whether we achieve our goals or continue repeating the same mistakes year after year. In this complete summary of Atomic Habits by James Clear, you'll discover why success isn't built through motivation or willpower alone. Instead, it's built through small habits that compound over time, creating extraordinary results. You'll learn how to break bad habits, build good ones, stay consistent, and transform your identity, one small step at a time. This isn't a book about overnight success. It's a practical guide to creating lasting change that actually sticks. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why improving by just 1% each day can completely transform your life. So, if you're ready to stop relying on motivation and start building a system for lifelong success, let's begin with the first powerful lesson behind the science of tiny habits. Before we learn how to build better habits, we need to understand one simple truth. Your life today is a reflection of the habits you've repeated in the past. Every achievement you've earned, every skill you've developed, every success you've experienced, and even many of the challenges you face are the result of small actions performed consistently over time. James Clear explains that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just as money grows through compound interest, your habits grow through repetition. A tiny improvement may seem insignificant today, but when repeated day after day, week after week, and year after year, those small changes produce extraordinary results. Likewise, small negative habits may seem harmless at first, but over time, they quietly lead you away from the life you truly want. This is why focusing only on big goals often leads to disappointment. Many people believe success comes from making one dramatic change, but lasting transformation rarely happens that way. Instead, success is built through small improvements that are almost invisible in the beginning. Improving by just 1% each day may not feel impressive, but those tiny gains eventually create a remarkable difference. One of the most powerful ideas in Atomic Habits is that goals are important, but systems are far more valuable. A goal tells you where you want to go. A system determines whether you'll actually get there. Winning a marathon is a goal. Following a consistent training routine is a system. Writing a best-selling book is a goal. Developing the habit of writing every day is a system. James Clear points out that winners and losers often have the same goals. Every athlete wants to win the championship. Every entrepreneur wants a successful business. Every student wants excellent grades. The difference isn't the goal, it's the daily system they follow. If you only focus on the finish line, your motivation may disappear after reaching it. But if you build a strong system, success becomes a natural outcome rather than a temporary achievement. Another life-changing lesson is the difference between outcome-based goals and identity-based habits. Most people try to change their results. They say, I want to lose weight, I want to earn more money, or I want to read more books. These are outcome-based goals. James Clear encourages us to think differently. Instead of asking, what do I want to achieve? Ask, who do I want to become? Instead of trying to run a marathon, become a runner. Instead of trying to write a book, become a writer. Instead of trying to save money, become someone who manages money wisely. This small shift changes everything. Every positive habit becomes a vote for the person you want to become. Each workout is a vote for becoming a healthy person. Every page you read is a vote for becoming a lifelong learner. Every dollar you save is a vote for becoming financially responsible. No single action changes your identity overnight, but every repeated action strengthens it. The book also teaches that habits don't disappear because we lack motivation. Most of the time, they fail because our environment works against us. Human behavior is heavily influenced by what we see every day. If unhealthy food is always within reach, eating well becomes harder. If your phone constantly distracts you, staying focused becomes difficult. If books are hidden away while social media is always one tap away, you'll naturally spend more time scrolling than learning. Rather than relying on endless willpower, design an environment that makes good habits easier and bad habits harder. Place healthy food where it's easy to see. Keep your workspace clean. Put a book on your desk. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Small environmental changes often produce much bigger results than trying to force yourself to stay motivated. By now, one message should be becoming clear. Lasting success isn't created by giant leaps. It's built through tiny actions repeated consistently until they become part of who you are. When you improve your systems, shape your identity, and create an environment that supports your goals, progress becomes almost inevitable. And this is only the beginning. In the next part, we'll explore the 4 laws of behavior change, the simple framework that explains how every habit is formed and how you can use it to build good habits and break bad ones for life. In the previous section, we discovered that lasting success comes from building strong systems instead of chasing goals. But this raises an important question. If habits are so powerful, why are they often so difficult to build? James Clear answers this with one of the most practical frameworks in the entire book, the 4 laws of behavior change. Every habit, whether good or bad, follows the same 4-step pattern. It begins with a cue, followed by a craving, then a response, and finally a reward. Once you understand this cycle, you'll begin to see that your daily habits aren't random. They're built on predictable patterns that can be changed. The first law is make it obvious. Every habit starts with a cue, something that reminds your brain to take action. It could be waking up in the morning, hearing your phone buzz, smelling fresh coffee, or sitting at your desk. These small signals trigger automatic behaviors that you've repeated so many times they no longer require conscious thought. If you want to build a new habit, make its cue impossible to ignore. For example, if you want to read every night, place a book on your pillow before leaving for work. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. By making the cue visible, you reduce the effort required to begin. James Clear also introduces a powerful strategy called habit stacking. Instead of creating a completely new routine, attach your new habit to one you already perform every day. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 2 minutes. After I make my morning coffee, I will read 1 page of a book. Your existing habits become reliable reminders for building new ones, making consistency much easier. The second law is make it attractive. We naturally repeat behaviors that feel enjoyable. The more attractive a habit becomes, the more likely we are to perform it consistently. One simple technique is called temptation bundling, combining something you need to do with something you enjoy. For example, you might only listen to your favorite podcast while exercising. Suddenly, your workout becomes associated with entertainment, making the habit much easier to maintain. The people around us also influence our habits more than we realize. We naturally copy the behaviors of our family, friends, coworkers, and communities. If you're surrounded by people who value learning, fitness, honesty, or discipline, those behaviors gradually begin to feel normal. Choosing the right environment and the right people can quietly shape your future without you even noticing. The third law is make it easy. Many people fail because they believe every new habit requires enormous effort. In reality, the easier a habit is to start, the more likely it is to become permanent. James Clear encourages us to reduce friction. If your goal is to read every day, don't begin with 50 pages. Start with 1 page. If your goal is to exercise, begin with just 5 minutes. If your goal is to write a book, commit to writing a single paragraph. This idea leads to the famous 2-minute rule. Any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to begin. Reading becomes read 1 page. Running becomes put on your running shoes. Studying becomes open the textbook. The purpose isn't to achieve great results immediately. The purpose is to make showing up so easy that skipping the habit feels harder than doing it. Finally comes the 4th law, make it satisfying. Our brains are more likely to repeat behaviors that produce an immediate sense of success. Unfortunately, many good habits offer delayed rewards, while bad habits provide instant pleasure. That's why building good habits requires intentionally celebrating small victories. Each time you complete a habit, you're reinforcing the identity you're creating. Every small success tells your brain, this is who I am. Over time, these tiny victories become powerful evidence that lasting change is possible. As these 4 laws come together, a remarkable pattern begins to appear. Successful people don't rely on extraordinary motivation or endless self-discipline. They build environments, routines, and systems that make good habits almost automatic. In the next part, We'll discover how to break bad habits using the exact same framework, why motivation often fails, and how tiny daily improvements eventually create extraordinary results that most people never see coming. By now, you've learned how good habits are built through the 4 laws of behavior change. But lasting transformation isn't only about creating positive habits. It's also about eliminating the negative ones that quietly hold you back. The good news is that breaking bad habits follows the exact same framework, only in reverse. James Clear explains that if you want to eliminate a bad habit, you don't need stronger willpower. You need a smarter system. Most people try to fight bad habits through self-control alone, but self-control is limited. Instead of constantly resisting temptation, successful people design their lives so temptation appears less often. The first step is to make bad habits invisible. Remember, every habit begins with a cue. Remove the cue, and the habit becomes much harder to repeat. If your phone constantly distracts you while working, place it in another room. If unhealthy snacks tempt you every evening, stop keeping them in your home. If social media steals your time, remove the apps from your home screen or sign out after each use. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your environment. When distractions disappear, discipline becomes much easier. The second step is to make bad habits unattractive. Every behavior exists because your brain believes it offers some benefit. The key is to change the way you think about that behavior. Instead of focusing on the temporary pleasure, focus on the long-term cost. For example, unhealthy food may provide a few minutes of enjoyment, but it can reduce your energy, damage your health, and slow your progress. Procrastination may feel comfortable today, but tomorrow it creates stress, missed opportunities, and unnecessary pressure. When you repeatedly remind yourself of these hidden costs, bad habits gradually lose their appeal. The third step is to make bad habits difficult. Increase the effort required to perform them. Add friction between yourself and the behavior you want to avoid. If you spend too much time watching television, unplug it after every use. If online shopping becomes a problem, remove your saved payment information. If you waste hours scrolling on your phone, set app limits or use website blockers. Even small obstacles can dramatically reduce unwanted behavior because human beings naturally choose the path that requires the least effort. The final step is to make bad habits unsatisfying. We care about what other people think. James Clear explains that accountability is one of the strongest forces behind lasting behavior change. When someone else knows about your goals, you're far more likely to stay committed. An accountability partner, a mentor, or even a supportive friend can encourage consistency simply by checking your progress. Some people even create habit contracts, promising consequences if they fail to follow through. The goal isn't punishment. It's creating a reason to stay consistent even when motivation disappears. Another powerful lesson from the book is what James Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. This explains why so many people quit too early. Imagine an ice cube sitting in a cold room. As the temperature rises from 25 degrees to 31 degrees, nothing seems to happen. The ice looks exactly the same. But when the temperature reaches 32 degrees, it suddenly begins to melt. Success often works the same way. For weeks, or even months, your efforts may appear to produce little visible progress. You exercise, study, save money, or practice a skill, yet the results seem invisible. Many people quit during this stage because they believe their hard work isn't paying off. In reality, progress is happening beneath the surface. Every small action is building momentum. When enough consistent effort accumulates, the breakthrough finally arrives. What appears to be an overnight success is usually the result of hundreds of invisible improvements made over a long period of time. This is why consistency always beats intensity. It's far better to improve a little every day than to work extremely hard for 1 week and then give up. Small habits may seem insignificant on their own, but together they shape the direction of your entire life. At this point, one truth has become impossible to ignore. Lasting success doesn't come from dramatic changes. It comes from making good habits easier, bad habits harder, and trusting the process even when progress feels invisible. In the next part, we'll explore how to stay consistent for years, avoid boredom, continue improving after early success, and build habits that last a lifetime. So far, we've learned how habits are formed, how to break bad ones, and why small improvements eventually lead to extraordinary results. But one important question remains. If habits are so powerful, why do so many people lose consistency after a few weeks? James Clear explains that the biggest obstacle isn't failure, it's boredom. In the beginning, every new habit feels exciting. You're motivated, inspired, and eager to change your life. But after a few days or weeks, the excitement fades. Progress becomes slower, the work feels repetitive, and many people begin searching for something new. This is where most habits die. The people who achieve extraordinary success understand something that others don't. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on consistency. They continue showing up even when they don't feel inspired because they know that mastery is built through repetition, not excitement. James Clear introduces another powerful idea known as the Goldilocks rule. Human beings stay motivated when they're working on tasks that are neither too easy nor too difficult. If something is too simple, we become bored. If it's too difficult, we become discouraged. The key is to keep challenging yourself just enough to stay engaged while still making steady progress. For example, if you've developed the habit of reading 10 pages a day, gradually increase the challenge when it starts feeling effortless. If you've been exercising consistently, slowly improve the intensity instead of making impossible jumps. Small challenges keep your habits fresh while preventing burnout. Another valuable lesson is that professionals and amateurs often look very different. Amateurs practice only when they feel motivated. Professionals practice because it's part of their identity. They understand that success isn't created by occasional bursts of effort. It's created by showing up again and again, regardless of how they feel. This idea leads to one of the book's most practical principles. Never miss twice. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone skips a workout, misses a study session, or breaks a healthy eating plan from time to time. Missing once is normal. Life happens. The real danger begins when one missed day turns into 2, then 3, then an entirely abandoned habit. James Clear reminds us that perfection is never the goal. The goal is to recover quickly. If you miss one day, return the next day. Protect the habit, not your ego. One mistake doesn't define you, but repeated neglect eventually becomes a new habit of its own. The book also encourages us to measure progress wisely. Many people become discouraged because they focus only on dramatic results. Instead, pay attention to the habits you're maintaining every day. Every workout completed, every page read, every healthy meal, every hour of focused work is evidence that you're becoming the person you want to be. Remember, habits shape identity, and identity shapes behavior. Every positive action is another vote for the person you're becoming. Over time, those votes create an identity so strong that acting differently begins to feel unnatural. Another important principle is learning to fall in love with the process rather than becoming obsessed with the outcome. Goals provide direction, but systems create progress. If your happiness depends only on reaching the finish line, you'll constantly feel frustrated. But if you enjoy the daily process of improving, every single day becomes a success. This mindset transforms self-improvement from a temporary challenge into a lifelong lifestyle. You stop asking, "How fast can I succeed?" and begin asking, "What kind of person am I becoming?" That simple shift changes everything. As these lessons come together, one message becomes crystal clear. Lasting success doesn't belong to the most talented or the most motivated. It belongs to the people who continue taking small, consistent actions long after the initial excitement has disappeared. In the next part, we'll bring together the final lessons of Atomic Habits and discover how tiny daily actions can completely reshape your future, your character, and ultimately, your entire life. As we reach the final stage of Atomic Habits, one powerful truth becomes clear. Lasting change isn't the result of one big decision. It's the outcome of thousands of small choices made consistently over time. Every habit you repeat is quietly shaping the person you're becoming, whether you realize it or not. James Clear reminds us that success is never a single event. We often notice the promotion, the successful business, the healthy body, or the remarkable achievement, but we rarely see the years of small actions that made those results possible. Behind every extraordinary success is an ordinary routine repeated with patience and discipline. One of the book's most valuable lessons is that habits are not a finish line. They are a lifelong practice. There is no point where you can stop taking care of your health, stop learning, or stop improving your character. Personal growth isn't something you achieve once. It's something you continue for the rest of your life. This is why James Clear encourages us to review and refine our habits regularly. A habit that helped you when you were a beginner may need to evolve as you grow. Your systems should improve alongside your experience. Instead of becoming comfortable with yesterday's success, continue making small adjustments that move you forward. Another important lesson is to remain humble. Good habits create success, but success can also create overconfidence. When people believe they've mastered everything, they often stop paying attention to the small disciplines that made them successful in the first place. Gradually, those habits begin to disappear, and so do the results. True mastery comes from remaining a student. No matter how much progress you've made, there's always another opportunity to improve. The most successful people aren't those who think they know everything. They're the ones who keep learning, adapting, and refining their systems. The book also teaches that your environment should continue growing with you. As your goals become larger, your surroundings should continue supporting the person you're becoming. Fill your life with people who encourage growth, books that expand your thinking, and routines that strengthen your discipline. When your environment supports your identity, positive habits become easier to maintain. Perhaps the most inspiring message in Atomic Habits is that anyone can change. You don't need exceptional talent, unlimited motivation, or perfect circumstances. You simply need the willingness to take one small step today, then repeat it tomorrow, and continue repeating it until success becomes your new normal. Every page you read makes you a better learner. Every workout makes you a healthier person. Every honest decision strengthens your character. Every focused hour moves you closer to mastery. Individually, these actions may seem insignificant. Together, they have the power to transform your entire life. James Clear reminds us that every habit is a vote for the person you wish to become. You don't become successful because of one perfect day. You become successful because your daily actions gradually shape your identity. The more evidence you give yourself, the stronger that identity becomes. As all these lessons come together, a timeless principle emerges. Great lives are not built through dramatic breakthroughs. They are built through quiet consistency. The small decisions you make today become the foundation of the opportunities you experience tomorrow. Now we've reached the final step of this journey. In the last part, we'll bring together every major lesson from Atomic Habits and discover why tiny improvements, repeated every day, have the power to create extraordinary success that lasts a lifetime. We've reached the end of our journey through Atomic Habits, and if there's one lesson this book wants you to remember, it's this. Extraordinary success is never the result of one extraordinary action. It's the result of ordinary actions repeated consistently over time. Throughout this summary, we've discovered that habits are the invisible force shaping every area of our lives. They determine our health, our relationships, our knowledge, our finances, our productivity, and ultimately, the person we become. Every choice, no matter how small it seems today, is quietly building the future you'll experience tomorrow. One of the greatest lessons from Atomic Habits is that lasting change begins with identity. Instead of asking, "What do I want to achieve?" ask yourself, "Who do I want to become?" Every positive habit becomes evidence for that new identity. Every workout is proof that you're becoming healthier. Every page you read is proof that you're becoming a lifelong learner. Every act of discipline is proof that you're becoming someone who keeps promises to yourself. We've also learned that small improvements should never be underestimated. Improving by just 1% may seem insignificant in a single day, but when those improvements are repeated consistently, they create remarkable transformation. Success is rarely dramatic in the beginning. Most progress remains invisible until enough small actions have accumulated to produce a breakthrough. Another powerful lesson is that systems will always outperform goals. Goals give you direction, but systems create progress. Reaching a goal can change your circumstances for a moment, but building the right daily habits changes your life permanently. When you focus on improving your systems, success becomes a natural consequence rather than something you constantly chase. We've also seen that the environment around you plays a greater role than most people realize. By making good habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, and making bad habits invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying, you stop relying on motivation and begin relying on intelligent design. This simple shift makes consistency far easier than willpower alone ever could. Perhaps the most encouraging message in this book is that anyone can improve. You don't need exceptional talent, perfect timing, or unlimited motivation. You simply need the willingness to begin with one small action today and repeat it tomorrow. Great achievements aren't reserved for extraordinary people. They're built by ordinary people who refuse to stop showing up. James Clear reminds us that success isn't about perfection. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone faces setbacks. What matters most is returning to your habits as quickly as possible. Never let one bad day become a bad week, and never let one mistake define your future. Consistency, not perfection, is the true foundation of lasting success. In the end, Atomic Habits is about much more than building better routines. It's about becoming the person you're capable of becoming. Every habit is a vote for your future self. Every small decision shapes your character. Every day gives you another opportunity to move one step closer to the life you truly want. Thank you for joining me on this complete journey through Atomic Habits. If you remember only one idea from this book, let it be this. Your future is not changed by one giant leap. It is changed by the small choices you make every single day. Change your habits, and over time, you'll change your identity. Change your identity, and you can change your entire life.